All right, welcome back. And as promised, Ann Coulter is on the line. And first off the bat, Ann, I have to ask you, what is your conspiracy theory regarding Epstein's apparent suicide in jail?
Well, I'm feeling very confident of our competent federal government. I mean, the first reaction I think of everyone was, wait a second, it was obvious that this guy should have been on suicide watch. After his last attempt, I'm sort of shocked they didn't already have him on suicide watch and careful. I mean, he obviously has, no one knows where his billions or at least hundreds of millions of dollars come from. He has powerful people behind him. He's escaped justice both in state and federal court for various serious charges for 13 years running. Now, there are powerful people behind him. They're going to want him killed. So after the first attempt, I had tweeted out, hey, Bureau of Prisons, put Jeffrey Epstein in a Supermax prison pronto. The powerful people behind him are going to arrange for his death. And now we find out, I mean, I'm not even sure which of these stories to believe. Oh, yeah, the cameras went out and the guards on duty weren't checking regularly. Well, you know, we had a lot of overtime that weekend. And, I mean, it's just one thing after another. And he'd been taken off suicide watch. You know, they put him on suicide watch for like 2 weeks or something. And, oh, okay, that's enough now.
Right.
But then I remember, oh, that's right. These are federal government workers.
Right.
And I'm sorry to the federal government workers listening. I'm sure many of you would be good workers in a private setting, but the entire culture of government work is how to get paid the most, get overtime. I mean, a lot of them are living here in Florida. Remember, even the New York Times had to report on those Long Island Railroad employees a few years ago who would run up overtime their last year, retire at age 55, move to Florida, and be collecting $300,000, $400,000 pensions for the rest of their lives. That is simply the culture of government work. And if you're the one dork, you know, actually doing your job, not trying to scam the taxpayers, I mean, I guess you feel like a chump. So my main point for conclusion is, we got to convert all these federal prisons to private prisons, and states ought to start doing it too. This never, ever, ever could have happened in a private prison, and there would be no doubt. There would be no doubt if this had happened in a private prison that somebody paid off the guards. I mean, obviously that's something that needs to be looked into. As someone tweeted, hey, Attorney General, watch the lifestyles and bank accounts of the guards who were assigned to keep duty on this guy. But, who knows? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I said they should all be fired. The warden should be fired, because if something like that happens on my watch, I'm out. You know, nobody's going to let the union fight it out in the courts.
Oh, yes. For the first time, I think, the media will not be taking a government union side. And, just quick sidebar, I've written about this endlessly. The idea that you have unions for government work is preposterous. The entire idea of a labor union is you have, running dog, wacky capitalist pigs on one side of the equation. They want to squeeze all the work out of their workers they can get, pay them as little as possible. Well, that's not true in government work. You have, people representing the workers on both sides of the equation. The politicians who want the unions to endorse them, and the unions who want to, which is why government work is so ridiculously overpaid with such ridiculous pensions and health care that you would never see in the private sector. Retirement at age 50, 45. Oh, it was very hard work. Yeah, it's hard work, but what are you going to do? Pay prison guards? Why not $5 million a year?
Right.
So, A, we need private prisons. B, we need no public sector unions. And C, it looks very fishy.
It sure does. And, listen, I think that calling them conspiracy theories is ridiculous. They're just questions, unanswered questions that must be answered. And again, you know what the American public is really tired of, Ann, and you know this better than most because you've written about it, is that nobody ever gets punished. Like, these things happen and we're all outraged. And then, 2 years later, I'm going, well, whatever happened? Like, did we ever find out who was responsible for dropping the ball? And nothing, nobody.
Yeah, how about the Las Vegas shooting? That's the one
please.
I've been thinking of.
Yeah.
Nope, we still don't have the story on that. And yeah, people lose faith in institutions and feel like everyone's running a scam. Are they the only ones who are going about their lives, holding jobs, paying taxes? People get really sick of this utter, complete incompetence. I mean, that is part of the reason, part of Donald Trump's appeal. Though he pretty much turned his government over to the same old people, and we're getting the same old results.
Mm-hmm. Well, with some small exceptions, but I got to tell you, that watching, I've turned off the TV. I'm fasting for 1 week from television. I'm on my fifth day, and
Isn't it great?
It's awesome, man. It's just great.
You get everything you need to know from Twitter.
Yeah.
Where do you think the primetime hosts get their stories? They go to our Twitter feed.
Yep.
You will miss nothing.
I know.
You'll be way ahead of your parents in the nursing home, who are the only ones still watching cable news, because the stories that you read on Twitter 3 days later will show up on cable primetime.
Exactly. When I got the alert that Epstein had killed himself Saturday, I went right to Twitter. I didn't even hesitate because there it was.
Yeah.
Hashtag Clinton body count. Hashtag Trump body count. Hashtag Bill Barr. It was like, okay, so now I've got all of these theories together. But I do think that it's going to be important that Barr is seen as doing something quick instead of just wasting the American people's time. Yeah, I'm tired of waiting.
Yes, and I think he will. He is one of the competent Trump employees. And as for, these, luckily the conspiracy, I hate to say this, but luckily in this case, I think they're both cracked, the Clinton and Trump connection. I suspect the powerful people behind Epstein, having studied the case very closely, I don't know who or what it is, but it's pretty clear that Clinton, Trump, and Gore were being used for protective coloration.
Right.
Epstein just wanted to look fancy and have powerful people around him, scare the girls. None of the girls have claimed they had sex with those three. Right. They were innocent protective coloration for this whole scheme. But in a way, we're lucky that these conspiracy theories are out there because I'm telling you, if the left didn't think that, this is another Trump scandal, they would have dropped this case the way they did when it first came up in Florida. I mean, you and I have been following this case since 2006 when it broke pretty much just in the Palm Beach newspaper.
True.
And I'm screaming from the rooftop tops trying to get the national media to cover this. No, it wasn't until they found a picture from 2004 of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, now we're interested in a massive international pedophilia ring.
Right.
They didn't really have our interest until then.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I pointed out earlier that, does anybody really care what Bill Richardson was doing at, Pedophilia Island? No, if they didn't have names like Clinton and Trump.
I believe. No, that's one I believe.
George Mitchell, you believe that one too? Yeah,
but not Gore, Clinton, Trump. But
okay.
There are some of these powerful people. I mean, if you read the depositions from the girls and what the girls are claiming, none of them claimed anything sexual anyway. They say they saw Clinton. They say that Jeffrey Epstein bragged about knowing Trump, but they didn't see him. But the claims do include certain former governors and senators and Harvard law professors. I mean, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I'm not making accusations the way Elizabeth Warren does, accusing an innocent police officer of murder over the weekend.
Right.
I guess it was last week. I'm not doing that, but there are claims there about them. There are no such claims about Clinton, Trump, or Gore.
Yeah, you're right. Well, and then, of course, the other big news story was the shootings. I haven't spoken to you since the weekend shootings, which, of course, the arguments, I think your article was moronic arguments that emerged afterwards, were so predictable. I mean, it's always... it's always about illegal immigration, and it's always about Donald Trump being a deporter in chief.
White supremacist.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. We need to do this would take me 10 seconds. I'm acting like it's a big assignment. But one of those Google searches for when people started using white supremacist white supremacist. That used to be a word that was confined to like the young Spartacus League on college campuses. They must be sitting back laughing their butts off at how this was just, taken off. I guess the left decided we've overused racist. People giggle when they hear it now. We need a new one. But certainly, you never heard white supremacists before. And now it's just one Democratic presidential candidate after another standing up and announcing that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. It's just, they may as well just call him a poopy head. What are they even talking about? I don't think there are any white supremacists. At worst, you get the nuts. Andre 320 million. I guess you can find anything.
Right.
You can find Jeffrey Epstein, but at worst, you mostly find the separatists. I suppose not that I know any of them or I've met any of them, but it's hard to even imagine a white person emerging from his mother's basement demanding that the world admits white people are superior.
Yeah.
It's just not something anybody does anyway. And to be accusing Trump of it, I was watching MSNBC. I'm sorry, that's my comedy
Central. Right?
And they were asking the question. I guess Axios had an article at the end of last week saying the Trump White House was saying, this is fantastic that Democratic candidates are going around calling Trump a white supremacist because it makes them look insane. And so that was the question before the panel at MSNBC. Does this help Trump that these lunatics are calling him a white supremacist? And the panel's answer was, well, yeah, it's bad to be a white supremacist. It's a terrible thing. No, that's not the question. Does it make you look insane to call the president that? Is the question on the table, I believe, idiots at MSNBC.
Yeah, well, listen, I just hope they keep doing it, even though both you and I are a little bit disappointed in the president. The thought of Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, or Joe Biden. By the way, did you look at the age of these people? We're not going to have one contender under 74 in the race.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yes. Well, the reason is, them with all of their white supremacy and their racial demagoguery. If you look at the Democratic Party. The reason they're so old is this is the last of the white Democrats.
Right.
And they're desperately hanging on to their power. You go down, a decade, 2 decades, maybe 3 decades, and oh no, it's all, as Trump said, it's a lot of immigrants and children of immigrants who are going to stick it to the white man.
Yeah, well, and that's their platform. It's obvious. And thank you as always for coming on. And we've linked that article about the invasion of moronic arguments up at the website. But I'm sure there's a new one coming out. Tonight?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday. All right. Well, so then they can
remember my schedule.
They can read this one until then. Thanks so much, and you be good. Have a good day.
Good to talk to you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Ann Coulter again.